Millions of tourists from around Europe descend on Tyrol State in Austria every winter, and this year was no different. Ischgl is one of the most scenic and raucous of the 80-plus ski resorts in the area.
Typically, you'll be out skiing for 8 hours with friends. You will have some drinks on the mountain, 2, 3 in the afternoon. When you get down into the town again, and it's just like a very large party. Every single bar, they were all open. They were so busy you couldn't move without brushing against people. They were absolutely rammed. Has Norna Tyre on the mountain, that was probably 2,000-3,000 people there.
So you had arrived at the resort on the 7th of March, and then for an entire 5 days, things were just going ahead as normal. At what point did you get ill?
And I fell ill on the Tuesday evening, just felt a bit rough. And then on the Wednesday morning, I couldn't move and I stayed in bed for 36 hours. Both I and none of the guys I was with believed that I had been infected with COVID-19. That was how hidden this was. I was tested and I was positive.
Last winter, Tyrol attracted 6.2 million visitors from around the world. Most of them from Germany, the Netherlands, Switzerland and the UK. Roughly half that number visited the resort this year, before it was forced to go into lockdown. On March the 4th, Iceland alerts Austria of travellers coming back from the area infected with COVID-19. March 5th, Tyrol State issues a press release claiming that it's unlikely the infections happened in Tyrol. March 7th, a barman in Ischgl tests positive for the virus and is quarantined, but the bar isn't closed. March 8th, Tyrol State publishes a statement claiming that, from a medical point of view, transmission of the coronavirus to guests in the bar is rather unlikely. March 9th, Norway, Finland, Sweden classify Tyrol as high risk, and authorities in Ischgl close the bar. March 12th, the ski lifts are still running, but it's announced that the season will end early on March 15th and that the town will be placed in quarantine. 10 days after the lockdown, the Austrian Consumer Protection Association launched a class action lawsuit against the authorities and the tourist industry in Tyrol.
Also das ist unsere Website, das ist schon die Seite, die Coronavirus Tirol behandelt. 84% sagen ja, sie haben das auch diagnostiziert bekommen. Wir sehen dann hier allerdings auch, dass fast 2% im Krankenhaus sind und 1% auf der Intensivstation.
The vast majority of Peter's plaintiffs are European, most of them German, but he also has cases from the US, Israel, Russia and Singapore.
Wir haben immerhin unter den Menschen, die da betroffen sind, 3 verstorbene Familienväter. Wir haben am 24. März verspätet gewarnt und verspätet Quarantäne verhängt wurde und das, wie ich unterstelle, aus kommerziellen Interessen.
In Austria, Ischgl has become synonymous with politicians putting economic interests over public health.
Das, was alle ärgert, ist die Haltung der Tiroler Regierung oder der Tiroler Beamtenschaft zu sagen, wir haben alles richtig gemacht.
Vice Governor of Tyrol State, Joseph Giesler, is responsible for emergency planning and disaster management.
Das Land Tirol und unsere Behörden haben am 7. März sozusagen das erste Mal einen Test gehabt, wo es einen positiven Corona-Fall gibt in Ischgl. Und auf diesen Tag vom 7. März weg hat es täglich Maßnahmen gegeben.
After the 7th of March, you released a statement, and in that statement you said that it was unlikely the barman would have transmitted to other people. Do you admit that the information that you were giving tourists was wrong?
Ja, die ersten Aussendungen, dass man sich quasi in einer Bar nicht anstecken kann, das war eine erste Einschätzung. Es hat sich aber als Fehldiagnose herausgestellt im Nachhinein. Nachdem sozusagen wir weitere Informationen gehabt haben, haben wir sämtliche Lokale in Ischgl gesperrt. Das war dann der nächste Tag, also der 8. März.
We've spoken to people who were in Ischgl and they said that they were in a bar right up until the dates of the 11th and the 12th of March. On the 13th of March, the World Health Organization said that the pandemic had spread across Europe so much that Europe was now the center of this crisis, and yet you only completely closed the ski resorts on the 13th of March. And this is evidence you acted too late.
Man müsste vielleicht vergleichen, alle Länder in Europa, wie die sozusagen gehandelt haben. Da ist Österreich immer vorne dabei gewesen und hat immer sehr zielstrebig versucht, hier dieses Thema anzugehen.
Ischgl has been in total quarantine for 6 weeks. Now that the tourists and seasonal workers have left, you need a pass to get in or out. These are certainly serious measures, but for many, they feel like too little too late.
What do you think needs to happen in Ischgl in response to this?
Of course, many people have now been infected with COVID-19, but this particular outbreak and how much it reached out, and it's incredible its impact, but the whole of mainland Europe was affected because the authorities there didn't take the steps they needed to, which was close the resort, accept they were going to lose some money, but they were protecting people's health and well-being.
Austria was one of the first countries in Europe to lock down, and its 33-year-old Chancellor Sebastian Kurz was widely praised for his swift response, except for what happened in Tyrol. But now, 6 weeks later, tempers are beginning to fray, and some Austrians are losing patience with the restrictions. And like all world leaders, Kurz is worried about the toll that the global pandemic will take on his country's economy.
Das Ziel dabei ist klar, jeden Arbeitsplatz in Österreich zu kämpfen.
The question is, did that goal stop the Tyrol authorities from acting earlier? 25% of jobs in the state rely on tourism.
Da sprechen wir über Wertschöpfungen, die über ein Viertel der Tiroler volkswirtschaftlichen Leistung sozusagen.
The winter sports lobby in particular is huge here. Cable car operators, hoteliers, construction companies, and it's directly accused in the Tyrol class action lawsuit.
Meine Aufgabe ist es nicht, Politik zu machen oder Politik zu bewerten und schon gar nicht die Verbindung von Politik und Wirtschaft in der Frage zu bewerten. Wer ist schuld? Ist Tirol schuld? Ist gar nicht so die wichtigste Frage.
Beyond the lawsuit, the challenge now for Tyrol is to bring tourists back next winter, after what's been, to put it mildly, a bit of a PR disaster.
Das Image von Tirol ist de facto nicht so sehr beschädigt, wie das mancher suggeriert. Die Menschen sind meines Erachtens sehr, sehr smart.
The local government is saying, we've responded to this the best way that we can, and we did everything by the book, and we actually responded to it very well.
I think I will go again, because ultimately this is down to individuals. It's not down to the mountain or the skiing experience. This is down to decisions that individuals have made.